2 decades at Kenner and Hasbro, Aaron built worlds, told stories, and designed toys for some of pop culture's biggest names, including Transformers, Batman, Star Wars, and more. Join him as he explores the archives and tells you the stories of the creative process behind your favorite toys. This is the Toy Armada with your host, Aaron Archer.
Production values. Look at that. How is everybody doing? I am on time for once. Production values. Oh my God. And hope everybody's doing good on this Friday night. I figure a lot of people are probably off seeing a film. I decided I needed to stay home and hang out with the kids and sort Legos today. So I did not see the movie, but we'll talk in general what's going on this weekend because it seems like it's going pretty well. People seem to like it. Casual fans seem to like it. So that's cool. We'll talk a little bit about that. Anyway, you have found yourself on the Toy Armada Friday Night Live Hang. I am Aaron Archer, a toy designer that spent 18 plus years at Hasbro Kenner doing all kinds of different things. Batman, Transformers, Alien Resurrection, Beyblade, all kinds of things. And now I like to hang out every Friday and kind of have a convention panel talking about the ins and outs of the toy industry and how things go. And right off the bat, Matt, Mikey, and Louie, how are you? Thank you. You guys are going on social media blackout until you see the Rise of the Beast. Yeah, I understand that. Totally understand that. But wanted to stop by real quick and show some love. Well, thank you. Thank you. Gorgonites, we will survive. We will win. My wife sees this shirt all the time, and it gets folded up, and she's like, "Do you have a sweatshirt with your name on it?" Which would be very arrogant and kind of funny. But there we are. So thank you, Mikey and Louie. I hope you get to see the movie early, soon. Looks like we got a good crew here already. David, Larry, Matt, Coltron, Josh has made it. Nice to see you. Archie, how are you? Ninjatron, as always. Seems like you're my Friday night partner. Ride or Die, appreciate it. El Kevo, Van Hope, Claudio, everybody's here. How's it going? So we had the new long form drop this week. Everybody seems to have watched it. It's going up quicker than most of the videos on Transmetals 2. So if you haven't checked that out on the long form videos, please do. We talk about mostly Transmetals 2 and the creation of Optimal Optimus, which was kind of fun to get that story out. So check that out. And like and subscribe if you have found yourself here for the first time. Welcome. So we got the news this week that they are coming out with some of characters I had worked on previously. So I like to talk about that real quick from my point of view. They announced Vector Prime this week, which is pretty cool. I've been hoping that they would redo this guy. I think he's got a lot of potential with modern techniques, and the spaceship's not so precious that can't get a nice redesign a little bit. So that's kind of fun. Here's a Dan Kana image that I've always liked. Vector Prime, I realize a lot of the characters that I created in toy look good in toy, but in animation, man, they got a lot of stuff hanging off of them that make them difficult to draw in any kind of dynamic poses sometimes. So I am a good silhouette toy designer, terrible character silhouette designer if you're going to animate stuff. So I figured I'd show some secret sauce here. So there's the toy as it was in a couple of different decos, the Japan, I believe, and the US colorways. This character, he's going to stand out with his intricacy in the armor detail and the interior kind of subtle spaces with all the gearing and filigree and ornateness that something this ancient and important of this type of character deserves. So as they design that, I imagine that's what they'll lean into. That's what makes this character fun, I imagine, to do over another insert standard vehicle type. His look in vehicle mode is part of his overall story and presentation. So he can get away with a little wilder look, I believe anyway. So that is what I hope they can capture in the robot mode for sure. I don't think he'll come with his Minicon. They don't seem to be including those these days. So here is something I found. So here's the original Takara head as we redesigned it. I'm not going to show another version I have, but at one point he was going to have a very Autobot shaped head. And we played with that for a little bit. You can still see it here, I think. But it went with a little bit more of the Egyptian pharaoh headdress kind of vibe. So I don't know if this has probably been in a book or something. Matt, you probably have it cataloged somewhere, no doubt. But this is a bit of a close-up of Vector Prime's head, which you don't often get. This would have been used as a model input. I wouldn't call it a sculpt input because they don't really do sculpts, but this is how they would have created the model. And they announced that they're going to redeco. I assume it's going to be this, without any changes. Makes it very easy. Into Galvatron. So that's very cool. I wonder how close they'll stick to those colors. And, how close they'll get. Those colors are pretty wild on that Armada redeco. I don't know if they'll color shift them a little bit to be more bold, dynamic, have a darker dark and a purple kind of thing. But we'll see. But that was bound to happen. Bound that they were gonna redeco the Megatron. Makes sense. I wonder if I don't know. I wonder if it's an exclusive. I wonder how hard it'll be to find in the end. But I'll probably have to track that one down too. I kind of like that design, so no doubt. So I will probably buy the Galvatron as well. So that was the big news this week as far as the toys that I was connected to that kind of got talked about or leaked a little bit. No images, obviously. Josh, thank you. The Unicron trilogy toys are still some of the most fun figures to date. They should be fun to play with, They might not be the best posed or the coolest, design in every way, but they should be fun. They were meant for kind of great intuitive puzzle play and nice action feature with a little buddy. How can you go wrong? How can you go wrong? El Kevo, good question. Was Vector Prime's alt mode based on the Sith Infiltrator? Well, initially we were looking for something like that. I believe I might even have sent over reference of similar vehicle types. And I will tell you that Takara got a little too close to the Star Wars reference for my comfort anyway. So we kind of changed some of the elements. But yeah, it certainly was, that was one of the influence-based images that got sent, amongst others. And that's why it retains a little bit of that. So yeah. Galvatron was a Jokai deco. Yeah, I believe you're right. I would have given the previous deco, the Megatron deco, that's the type of project a co-op would have got under me, to say, hey, transpose these colors, and Joe would have known Galvatron enough, or the vibe of what Galvatron meant, to create that deco sheet. That is exactly how I used to work with those guys, and makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, if Optimus is out, Megatron should be out soon, but I don't know. I think my stuff said July or August. I gotta figure that out. I never really did the combiner with my Armada Megatron and Tidal Wave. I always felt that it made him look a little too, I don't know, kind of wide, like a heavy duty tank kind of thing. I don't know. My silhouettes tend to be tall and spiky, and that one got all wide. So I never tried it. Yeah, Vector Prime's head design, still retains a little bit of that Autobot element. We really took it out of the forehead, is the biggest place we changed it up, and kind of changed that whole top of the head to get away from it. I didn't think it was the right time to use that Autobot shaped head. I don't know why at the time I felt that way, but I definitely remember getting, even though I might even have initiated it, but skeeved out at some point that it wasn't a good idea to do that. Maybe because the character was going to die. Spoiler, sorry. But I can't really remember why, other than that. Do you like or dislike the personality they gave Armada Starscream in the Armada anime, since he's so different from G1? I'm pretty straight with the fact that I didn't have time to review the end result of the anime often. And in a lot of cases, I haven't watched as many episodes as you would think I have. Because I was always on to the next thing, always on to the, as a brand develops, like a line like Armada comes out, if it's doing well, we got to add redecos or specials, or, we hit it hard with the next series. And so to sit back and watch, even though it's half-hour entertainment or less, really, without commercial, I didn't have time to really watch a lot of them. So as far as personality goes, that was almost beyond my responsibility, is the way to say it. I could kind of build the boat and set it adrift, but some other people were piloting it from there to get the animation done and do the voice transfers and different things. And at some point, everybody does their job, and so I don't have a preference either way, I guess is a long-winded way to say that. But yeah, that's my feeling on that. Vector Prime was always planned to die. I don't know, Matt. I think we probably needed somebody important to sacrifice. So, that's just how the story developed. I can't say that it was always planned, but once that came up, we had to make a decision about who it would be, whether it would be one of the planet key holders or what. But I'll have to look at my notes on that one. I do have some Cybertron animation development notes, so I could probably look and see if there's anything indicated there. So maybe we'll talk about that in a future Toy Armada, live or otherwise. Vector Prime, for me, was what I wanted to do. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but we had the idea of the 13. We needed at times some epic characters, some I'll call boss level, god level characters who could come in and do some move the story in new ways quicker. Really, that's why these characters get developed. So we needed a character in the previous story concept, which is Supercross, which was going to bring all the generations, from across the Transformer universes, the multiverse. It was basically a multiverse story, and it was going to create a super team to defeat Unicron. And there was going to be this guy that was the guide that could cut through the different realities, right? So that Vector Prime lingered from that role, and we just kept it going with the means that we used him with. So I don't know if he was inspired by any particular character other than we needed an epic level character and a guy who could cut through time and space. It was convenient to then tie it into the 13 and start thinking about that. So that's what I can recall at the moment. Did I have anything to do with Ask Vector Prime when it was still running? Yeah, I was one of the people that got consulted on that. Depending on the questions, they kind of asked different team members, or the marketing team or PR team would just answer, depending how complex of a question it was. So yeah, definitely. And that was nice way to communicate to the fans. Did you have any idea in 95 who else was going to be in the 13? That is something that I fleshed out. Basically, I took the idea of the 13 and who had been described, who I'd like to add, and then naturally, okay, well, that leaves X many spots. What can we do here? That got me thinking about the overall different, again, generations of Transformers, or different types of Transformers. There's combiners, there's beasts, minicons, different ways that they kind of continually present themselves. So I wanted to represent like the originator of each of those types. So Vector Prime just also fit into that kind of role of time and space character. You need a couple of these other roles, and that, like Alpha Trion being the chronicler, or someone being the, weapons maker. They don't all represent Transformer types, but that was how I was going to fill in the holes. So once we started down that road with Vector Prime is when I started thinking about filling in those slots. And I remember calling Simon and asking him if he had any particular overall concept on it, and and it was kind of that writer's thing that you do where you leave it open-ended enough that if you ever got back to it, great, but if you didn't get back to it, then no problem. So to him, it was just open space to, fill in. And if we were going to fill it in, great. So he didn't really have too many notes. He thought it would be fun. He liked my overall concept, and we kind of went from there. If Vector Prime was in the movie, who would you want to play the voice? That's a good question. I don't always think in terms of voice, which is strange, but I don't know. Maybe Peter with a different voice would be cool. I mean, those guys used to do multiple voices. Don't know why that couldn't happen again. It would also play as an old Optimus, which would be very cool. Do you think that that characters with heads that are based on the Decepticon symbol or heads based on the Autobot symbols look better? I don't know if I'm following that exactly, but like Soundwave is a lot like a Decepticon logo. Obviously, the new Nemesis ship, whatever they're going to call that character. If it's been known, I don't know. So, I don't know. I think it should be done for impact. If they're using these symbols, it should be used for impact. And often it's hard to do, right? So, Vector Prime was dimension hopping before it was cool. Yeah, maybe. How do you feel about the Vector Prime Tumblr blog? I don't know anything about that one. From Alpha Trine came all Transformers with beards and mustaches. Yeah. Was that a creation of the designer of the movie characters? Flo? Torre? What's his name? I think of him doing that too. But the beards and different things, mohawks, teeth, all those things are fun to do. It gives each robot head a little bit different personality. Yeah, Floro Deary. Yeah, it was kind of in my head. I was realigning the syllables in his name. Sorry. I don't know. Did he design Alpha Trion? It seems like he did. It seems like a character he would have designed. Hey, Alan G., how are you? Yeah, no, it was very cool. I've been putting Vector Prime out there into the ether and hoping that that gets picked up. So now my next one, I guess, is Tidal Wave or Sideways to see if we can make happen. After that, I don't know what kind of preferences I have. After that, it's kind of a wild grab bag and a lot of good Eric products. So, yeah, that guy did a lot of work, and I could never figure out how to work with him. Obviously he's doesn't really want to work with Hasbro after his opinion of what happened and using the designs and stuff. But it's a shame because he added a lot to the mix. But yeah, Red Alert would be cool. Actually, Jetfire. I mean, Jetfire is another one that kind of should be on that short list, I suppose. Whether he has pants mode or not, and I guess they might as well make pants mode if they're gonna do it. I always liked his shield, actually, Jetfire's shield that ended up on the chest. I thought that would be all right. Energon Hotshot. How would you do Energon Hotshot without the combo feature, or would you want the combo feature? There's a question. Really made those chests weird, and the pelvis is weird. I mean, not awkward, they're just very square. Everything was very square. There's got to be somebody out there who has 200 deluxe items, you know, comboed with every version of every, you know, pants for all the different tops and tops for all the different pants. And you would need like a lot of certain characters. Okay, what do we got here? So you're watching the Toy Armada. It's 10:30. Live Friday night. We're already in the gobbledygook of geeking out on old Transformers. Like I said, I have not seen the movie, but seems like it's getting positive reviews. So that's good. Transformers needs that. It's a strange. I was trying to explain to my wife the fact that this is the second prequel, and she was just like, "Are you kidding me?" You know, and it's set in the 80s and has a cool soundtrack, and she's just like, "Okay, you know, just why didn't they do that in the first place?" was kind of her reaction, which at this point we can all just maybe go, that's a good question. Good question. Signal Lancer. Man, I don't remember that one. Armada Skywarp out of the new Starscream. Yeah, they could do all those. That would be cool. But they'll end up doing those for specials and different things, I'm sure. Once they have a Seeker mold, they'll use it. If it's a decent, you know, item. Matt, I found an old Microman motorcycle robot that looks a lot like Sideways Micro Rider. Yeah, please do. We were using all that stuff for reference. I'm curious. I'll tell you right away if we used it for reference. Yeah, that was one thing. You couldn't use the trailer, could you, if you used Jetfire's pants? The trailers didn't really do anything else. I have 2 Energon Rodimuses combined. I think that's unnatural. That's funny. That's funny. I did a diagram where every deluxe Autobot was a different symbol, and then like how many different pants and tops options there were if you bought every deluxe figure to go with every option. And it got unruly. It was a lot. I'll have to recreate that, see where it ends up. Double Rodimus is sick looking. Yeah, he'd be thick. He's all stout and robust. Rewatching Energon. Do you know why the Wheeljack character from the second half of the season is called Cliff Jumper in the cartoon? No idea. No one man in the back door, I suppose. Yeah, it was those were dubbed very quickly. The way the 18-month cycles worked, which were really year cycles in Japan, we were trailing in Energon. And so it made our dubs tight in a couple of cases, in a couple sequences. What was the story behind the deluxe class Unicron, and why does he transform into a tank version of the Ark? I don't think he's supposed to be a tank version of the Ark, but we were talking a lot about Unicron, and Unicron's coming, and sometimes that is a tactic used. You'll do a much bigger or important character in a price point that's affordable, so that in some regions that will never get the higher priced items. It's a lot like why we did Bendy Prime, Deluxe Prime, and Armada, so that Unicron can be present in their fantasy play, but not necessarily going to ever be that larger one. That's one reason to do it. It was big in the story. And it was just an opportunity to do a character that people knew rather than not. So think of it as a dream sequence, Unicron, a bit. His energy, his thoughts, his malice out there, messing around. But that's why he would have been created. And that's that, I guess. I lost my place here, but I don't know why he looks like the Ark necessarily. I did that item, so the Ark wasn't part of my goal, so that might just be in there. Since they just did Beast Wars inspired movie, how do you feel about the next film being based on Armada? I'm sure there's a character or two that could be inserted, hot shot, sideways, I guess. There's never going to be there's no reason to have a separate Armada storyline, but some of those characters could show up. Maybe mini cons could be a something that's chased after, but hard to say. It would be interesting. Yeah. And engineered. I'd love to hear more about the 2007 movie toy development in future episodes. You must have some great stories. Yeah, I have a lot of different angles on that, and I certainly could do that. I'll have to figure that one out. Whether we haven't done a long form Bayverse movie episode yet. We were going to get by the beasts here before we really got back into that. Maybe for some anniversary or something, but I got a lot of good, interesting stuff that would be worth talking about. Energon dub script was something else. Yeah, that is true. But again, that was beyond me. A Unicron retail figure. Of the large one, the HasLab one? No. They could do a more reasonably scaled one. Tough to say. Tough to say if they need it. Yeah, Energon did have that. Some did look better as the top or bottom. Hotshot looked better as a bottom because he had those big forearms otherwise, right? I always thought. But a lot of interesting combos. Interesting idea. I was glad to be a part of it. I like those kind of crazy toy features, even if they don't work. That was pretty wild stuff. Takara really did a a great job of making a lot of different variety out of what they had to work with. Well, welcome, some gamer dude. Glad you made it on the live. Why was Ultra Class Jetstorm never repainted in RID or Universe 1.0? I believe he had some unique electronics, and he had, I believe, a chrome mold at a time where we weren't really going that way. And we were trying, in this effort to get back to basics, Jetstorm was just a little too it was hard to squint and see that as an Earth-based jet. Whereas the little Jetstorm, we could work with that one and try to do some different things, which we did. But the larger one was trickier. It looked more alien, had that triangle form, transformation, and so we just it was also bigger and got into a weird price point because of the electronics, if I recall. And so that one definitely got overlooked over and over and over, and I recall that it was like, well, that doesn't fit. No, doesn't fit. So yeah, did you have anything to do with Transmetals 2 Rodimus? No, I believe that was Tim Bradley, who I'm going to get talking to on a future podcast here. Why do you think Energon is considered the weakest of the Unicron trilogy? Typical middle child syndrome. The toys are fun. Yeah, the cartoon really drives Transformers. The better the personality or the better the cartoon, people more connected to the products, connected to them. That's natural. That's how it kind of should be. The love that is shown should go both ways. And the Energon cartoon's just not dynamic. It was, the CG is not good, and you had that with some dub issues. It doesn't matter how unique or if you like the toys or not. Up to you to decide if they're good toys or not, but that's going to affect them, and that's why they're not as well remembered, because people don't have as much of the animation in their head to trigger that memory, is my crackerjack psychology degree view of it. But it's a shame because some of those toys are really cool. I mean, we talk about isn't Scorponok from Energon? That's a killer item. Actually, a lot of the Decepticons of that line are really good because they don't suffer from the combo feature limitations. But we talked about the what were they called? I always forget their names. The helicopter with the Ed 209 and the snowplow construction guy. Great items, but they weren't really featured in the show in a dynamic way enough. So that's just how it goes. But the toys are fun. And then Cybertron comes along with this big sweeping story and all these unique characters for unique reasons and trying to do that, different leaders of these places, and Unicron's back in a big way. So Cybertron just came back swinging hard too. Let's not forget that. I think the small Unicron showed up in the Cybertron comic. Yeah, that's cool. I still want... my thing jumped. Sorry, folks. An Art Fire reissue, I assume? Or Artifice? I'm not sure when I know that one. Omega Supreme and Energon's pretty good. That's a fun one. That's a fun item. Do you think Hasbro would ever entertain the idea of Rodimus being the leader again in media, having Jetfire be the leader in like Europe had, or revisit Machine Wars Starscream as the leader? You know, they got to do something bold at some point, but it's tough to move away from Optimus Prime right now, and tough to, you know, not run into the classic what happened in the 80s. You know, is this just to sell new stuff, or is it really turning a page, and are you going to live with it, or is Optimus going to be back in a year and a half? You know, if there's a good reason to shift it up, I suppose, you know, I believe in different segmentation, that different characters could be more leads, if you will. But I don't know. I think that's a tough ask. Yeah, they did Jetfire and Optimus Prime combining in the movies. Yeah, you're right. But I don't know. I mean, I forget what that's in relation to, but yeah. Did you ever meet with Peter Cullen personally? Yeah, several times. Had dinners and drinks and green room hangouts and toy company tours and different things. Yeah, he was a good guy. I try to say hello every time I see him at a con. Got a lot of good pictures, and yeah, we've shared a lot of good memories. Times. Really cool, nice gentleman. Minicons are a great MacGuffin. They worked well in the PS2 Armada game. Yeah, they did. And that's, I mean, they were built under that collect 'em all mentality a little bit. And so they found a good way to work them into the game. For sure. If the Beast Wars Neo Unicron toy by Takara had been made, do you think Hasbro would have been able to import it? Thought I had it here. I actually have a real photo of that item somewhere. I'll have to track that down. I've seen it recently. No, the way it was built at a time before co-development, so they would not have known outside their own assumptions because of working with Beast Machines and Beast Wars, what Hasbro would expect cost-wise, feature-wise, promotion-wise. And the way that thing was built, it was just too heavy, weird features in a way. So I think of that model as it got us to somewhere where we needed to get and where we ultimately got, but I don't think Hasbro would have been able to import it. It would have been too expensive at the time to figure that out. They could do a Titan class Studio Series 86 Unicron. I suppose they could. I don't know how you'd repackage that thing. Thing's so dang huge. How do you feel about gender swapping Override into a girl in the Cybertron English dub? Well, how do I feel about it? Chaotic neutral. I was the person that decided to do that because we did not have enough women characters, and that design was the easiest to transition. So we went ahead and did that. So I feel fine about it. What's a chrome mold? A chrome mold is any of the molds that get the vacuum metallization put on them, so chroming. So I think Jetfire had those shiny chests. C-3PO is chromed. A lot of Power Ranger stuff used to be chromed. It's a technique, a manufacturing technique that requires a certain rigidity of plastic so that it doesn't flex and crack the chrome and it comes off. And so you need a little bit of a more robust mold for that. And once you kind of make it to be chromed, you kind of want to chrome it because there's some layering and math in there. Otherwise, the piece might be a bit looser. So that's why I say it that way. Those pieces would have been intended to be chromed. And so just makes them a little bit different. Not a lot, but a little bit. Favorite Beast Wars toy? Ooh, I don't know. Don't know if I have I mean, the red dragon is the thing that's going to really jump out, but that's almost like cheating. I like the manta ray and the crab. Is there a chance that you could ever be working with Hasbro again to world build more? Do you feel that older guys like me and you are just looking past in favor of younger? I don't know. I think if they asked me to come in and consult or something, it'd be fun. But they got new people doing that. They got a whole department of writer's room that they created to come up with some of the stuff that they're doing. So, that's just how it is. I feel like I had a great opportunity to be in the position I was for quite a while, longer than most. So I don't really expect to find my way back to that unless, they really want to try something bold. But, that's my feeling on it. Landmine and Bulkhead. Yeah, Landmine and Bulkhead, we'll always talk about those. Those are two of my favorite Transformers from the Unicron trilogy, period. And I didn't do either of them. I think those are great toys, great products, solid products. Man, I am way behind on the chat. Sorry. Energon seems like a hard series to call back to because of a lot of the product was inspired by the pre-existing characters. They'll remake G1 Inferno before Energon Inferno. Yeah. It does get lost. It gets a little hazy in there as far as what reference do you pull back to. And it, for some reason, this isn't, griping. It's just, it's easier to go back to G1. Even though in some cases those characters aren't any better known than any other version of some of them. Not just mine, but any of them along the way. So I don't know. But, Armada and those things are kind of, at least Armada was a kind of a squint towards G1 2.0. As Energon and those storylines changed quite dramatically and got focused on their features, right? Going to different planets or, the combo and kicker and everything. They're more niche storylines, they're focused on their thing and then the new thing comes in. So they're a little different too than how G1 was laid out. Hot Rod was the leader for a bit in Cyberverse, although he didn't upgrade to Rodimus Prime. Yeah, I think they're trying to avoid too many other primes that would compete with Optimus. At least that was a worry a while back. Might not be as much of a worry today. I got Cybertron backstop today. He's a good one. Fun to do a little beast. That's the Rhino. He's there's not a lot to him, but he ends up with a pretty cool robot form. I'm trying to think. I don't know if Ono-san helped with that one as well. I can't recall. Yeah, I mean, I could imagine if Dan, I think the only way to move on from Optimus would be to shift him into a more mentor type character on the sidelines, but present in some form. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Did the 20th anniversary affect Energon at all? It seems like the only mention is in the Japanese version of the cartoon. But did it influence any development? Not really. No. We were taking advantage on the Hasbro side of the 20th anniversary with that one Optimus item. And maybe the reissues, we probably considered that. But the mainline cartoon wasn't, in our mind, connected to any anniversaries. Yeah, the Armada cartoon game was hard. Yeah, I could never get past Starscream in that Arctic level. And that was that. Do you think Energon or Cybertron would have worked as well as Armada as a game? I don't know. They would have made for different games, but I don't know if those games would have been at the right time. David, thank you. Yeah, female override. It's nice in there. I wish the design could have been a little more planned. But override is a girl. Yeah. Oh, T Farmers 2002 for $5 super chat. Thank you. Do you think the Unicron trilogy would even have Unicron as the main focus if the Neo version had come out, considering how big a deal the Armada toy was? I don't know if I'm following that. Do you think the Unicron trilogy would even have... Oh yeah, if the Neo version had come out, yeah, no doubt that would have taken away some of the thunder. Armada's Unicron definitely surprised everybody. It was a giant item that we decided to do a villain that didn't have a vehicle mode other than a planet, which you can't do anything with, a planet. Because of the Minicon connectivity, it made sense that we could use the rings and different parts of the body. So the big splash that Unicron got in Armada was definitely what helped Armada become Armada. So had the Neo version came out in Japan and the fans had imported it, and then we came out with ours and it's more Minicon focused. Yeah, that would have caused some different decision making. It's not a bad question. We probably still would have gone with Unicron, but it would have been a tougher. It just would have made for the fan excitement, at least. I know that. Thank you for the super chat. As I say every week, I am an independent artist at this point. I do freelance and whatnot for some companies here and there, but to keep the lights on in the Metroplex here, super chats are welcome. And if you haven't checked out my website, archermonster.com, I have a shop where I sell sketchbooks and original artwork. I got some new things I've been working on. I took a stack of the instructions from Armada, and I'm doing quick marker paintings on them. So these will be available at the summer conventions. I don't think those will be on the website. I think those will be something I take to the convention. So been working on that, but things like that are on the website, other art, and some of the other crazy things I get up to. And so I'm going to get back to some questions here. Ended up with a lot of Energon today. Hope everybody's seen the Transmetals 2 long form by now. If you haven't, make sure you check that out. Seems to be people are enjoying that. The Transformers Cybertron video game. I don't know. I don't even remember it. If one was being worked on, I've already forgotten about it. Evan, how you doing? Evan, while you're here, I'll talk real quick. I'm going to be on for a few more minutes. Talk about some of the stuff I found this week. I went to my Hartville flea market, and I found this gem to add to my collection of odd artwork placed on stuff. The old video discs, they got like original arrangement of artwork of the Muppet movie. There again, I'm a kid of the 80s, so Muppet movie all the way. Couldn't beat that. Could not beat that. And I found a He-Man record book. If you remember those. They transferred the tape, but this one, no one ever wrote their name in it. No one colored any of the black and white pictures. So that was my hoard for the week. But Evan, that was, I thought of you and I was hoping you'd be here tonight. So there you go. There you go. For those of you who don't know, Evan does a mean Kermit the Frog and others voice. Yeah, I think Hasui-san did work on Backstop. Fun little item. All right, let me catch up. Yeah, thank you. Those paintings are fun to do on those marker pen, or the paint pens I use work really well on that shiny paper. I just go at it. And they're kind of quick, so they're not trying to keep them somewhat inexpensive. But otherwise, these old instructions, they don't really have any value. I have a whole stack of them, so I wanted to do something with them. I used to bring them to shows to sign, just when people didn't have something to sign, which is fine. People don't bring their toys to shows to have the designer sign them. It would be something I would have that people could sign. So I figured I'd dress them up with a little bit of art and that. So yeah, they're fun. I try not to overdo them. Yeah, that is a video disc, different than Laserdisc. Laserdisc you put into the machine and it opened up a little door and it read the disc that was inside. This, you actually discharge a disc and it's like the video is on a record. And then the whole tray pulls out and that record is then inside the machine. It was another form that didn't last. I think only RCA made it. Anyway. But I really get them because of they all had custom art, almost like old albums, to fit this scale of cartridge, so to speak. So I really like that. So I have Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and this one now. I just dig the different scale. I even told the guy when I bought it, I'd buy him for the art. And he's like, that's exactly what you should do to them, because they're not worth trying to figure out how to play them. He was worried I was going to be some techno nerd that wanted to go back to the 80s and, play it again. And I was like, oh no. But all the other movies were like really terrible romance and different things. I like the illustrated, not the photography ones. What was the last Transformer product you properly worked on? And did you know it was the last one? Thundertron was one of the last characters I was active on. It's probably up there. This is a weird thing to claim, but I came in and challenged the team to take Grimlock from the movie. I go, I want a Grimlock that you grab and you flip and you bang and he's done. And they made that toy. So that's kind of the last item that I ever kind of put to the team to figure out. So that is that. Probably I knew I was getting fewer and fewer toys because I was doing more and more IP work and other kind of things that we were doing. So I knew I wasn't working as much on toys, so that I know it was, rarer and rarer. But I don't know if it was the last. I knew it would be the last one. Aaron, quick question. Why the original Armada Megatron didn't have leg articulation? That was just the way the budget worked out and where we were putting focus back then. It wasn't in articulation as much as the features. So it had the sound effects and launch things and the Minicon features. And so we definitely forfeited articulation at that time for, those spring-loaded features, as I kind of refer to them. Yeah, I did some research on those He-Man things, seeing what they're going for, because I got it cheap, obviously, at a flea market. I might take it to, I'll talk about it. Yeah, so some of them come with cassettes, some of them came with the little records, little floppy records that we all would play. Sorry, I'm itching my nose. Several years ago now, I got shingles on my face, and every once in a while, all those nerve endings decide to go crazy. It was one of the factors of why I left Hasbro. The stress was causing me a lot of grief, and this shingles outbreak was part of it. And I still live with it today, so it blew out my my nose nerves. So every once in a while I go through a terrible where everything's just... But there you go. A little insight on the old Aaron Archer for you. Is there a Transformers that you worked on that never got released, but you feel would have been absolutely been a hit? I guess What If Transformers. We didn't do too many What If Transformers because the nature of creating them, if you get to a certain point in the way the deal was that you'd want to release them, otherwise you'd absorb a lot more of the budget that was shared across the two companies. So we didn't develop too much that didn't go forward. I'd probably have to call out, just out of sheer popularity, the animated items that got molded or not tooled up, but the mold models made, and like the Megatron and a few of them. It's a shame those didn't get made. I guess it's probably the biggest what ifs. Yeah. Matt with the $5 super chat, thank you. The 84 Transformers comic launch didn't get a cover spot on Marvel Age magazine because it went to their Muppets Take Manhattan adaptation. That's funny. And probably the right decision. Let me talk a little bit bigger licensing franchise stuff. Like the Muppets were a known commodity. This was the second go at the Muppets movie stuff. First one was a hit. This one's going to be a hit. Absolutely, they're going to focus on that. What's this robot thing? Oh, this Japanese weird toy connected thing. Absolutely, they're going to go with the Muppets. Yeah, Shingles was no joke, and I had it like across my face here, like right in the middle. Not fun. So, Matt, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Appreciate you. I like that Hot Shot was animated. Again, I think they're characters, so they can live in these alternate realities, this multiverse. I don't think we ever considered an animated Omega Supreme, but Eric would know more than I would on that one. Yeah, there's a lot of good animated items that could have come out or should have come out, or, we would look forward to hopefully would have gotten made if it kept going. Are there any toys you feel are massive improvements over the originals and should have become the default look? I'm of the mind this Laser Prime G2, Green Megatron, and Energon Megatron. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. It is, in the big scope of things, they're in creating character identities. There are things that need to linger, and there are things that we drag along. If I'll use Batman as an example. Batman's been drawn by dozens of artists, but Bob Kane started it, and then Finger, and then up through the eras with Adams and different guys that they're all drawing the same gear on the same human body, but the way they cut it and angle things and project things and shadow the stuff, it can look very different. And we're not still trying to draw Bob Kane style. That is to say, why are we still drawing G1 style? I find it a little bit odd because G1 is based largely off 70s vehicles. 70s vehicles. They don't make flat-nosed trucks much anymore. So Optimus is already an anachronism. So I wish, and they've tried to do it a more generalized standard form in the products, but I don't know. Megatron as a tank has caught on, I guess, somewhat, but not the case across all the others. So it's a good question, a little deep to get into here late in the podcast, but I'm going to think a little bit about that because there are some that could have been used a little more often as improvements. I think they upgrade Starscream well. He keeps getting cooler as jets get cooler, and no one's trying to hold him back. So that's a good thing to think about. Much longer topic. I could probably talk a long time on that one if I wanted to. Oh, thanks. About the big red dragon. That's a good one. Yeah, I wish animated kept going too. I still think they could come back to it somehow at some point, but in that world, not necessarily season 4 or anything, but I don't know. Tough to say. So with that, what else could I talk about? I got the next sketchbook coming out, debuting at TFCon Toronto. I will be at TFCon Toronto July 14th through the 16th. So check that out. I have no idea if there are rooms available or tickets available, but it's a good time if you can get there. I will be there this summer. I've slimmed down my overall conventions to basically the 2 TF cons and PowerCon here in Columbus. Previous He-Man convention, but is now broader toys. All kinds of guys are from all kinds of different toy brands are there. A lot of the smaller, mid-sized toy companies are there, like Four Horsemen level kind of stuff, Super 7. So that'll be very cool, and it is going to be the first time that Eric and I are there at a con together in a long time, and some other fellows will be there. So if you're in the area and into Transformers, definitely will be worth your while to check it out. Look for more guest announcements soon. But this one's the next one, and that's where I'll have the sketchbook. So debuting, and then it'll be on the website after that. So, yeah, the TFCon Toronto Hotel is sold out. I thought I heard that, but good times. Good times. I'm glad I got my room. Yeah, and David, I'll look forward to seeing you at PowerCon. It would be very nice to see you. I was wondering about that because you are in the area, I believe. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I like to do these a little longer than an hour, but not too much longer. So thank you, Matt, for the super chat. T-Formers 2002, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Mikey and Louie, wherever you might be, thank you. Great questions as always. A lot of fun to talk about some insight into Energon tonight. Never know where we're going to go with the questions, so I will wrap in some of that when we do a long form on Energon. Some of those things that you guys have added here made me think. And we will have to get to animated soon with Eric, so we are getting there. Appreciate you guys spending time. If you haven't, listen to the long form on Beast Wars Transmetals 2. Definitely a fun one. So thank you and appreciate you. And we will see you again next Friday. We do this every Friday at 10 o'clock. All right. Thanks, everybody.